I'll record on this computer. Okay, so hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the you at UCalgary Faculty of Nursing experience, where you'll be given an opportunity to learn more about what it's like to be as a nursing student in the program. We also have with us today Carla Ferreira, instructor as well as nurse practice simulation coordinator, providing a virtual simulation tour. We also have with us nursing student panelists, as well as the associate dean, who will be introducing themselves a little later and sharing their experiences and answering some questions. We also have a member of staff, or myself, as well as Carrie McKay, part of the undergraduate and graduate programs office, joining us for this event. And so you can see that you have lots of support here to provide you with some insights of what it's like to be in the nursing program. Before we go into depth with our session, though, I would like to start off with a land acknowledgement. So I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, the Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nations and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chenechy, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. Just a few housekeeping items and things to note. For the duration of this session, it's important to keep your mics muted to avoid interruptions and distractions. This session, as you probably may notice, is being recorded for individuals who are not able to attend. And then towards the end, once we have go with the panelists section of the event, we will ask that you put your questions in the chat. Carrie McKay, who's the manager of the undergraduate and graduate programs office, will be acting as the moderator. So once we get to the panelist portion, we ask that you put your questions in the chat below, and then we'll read them out and get one of the panelists to answer them. So without further ado, I will now pass the session over to Carla Ferrer, again, who's the instructor as well as nursing practice simulation coordinator, to provide us with a virtual simulation tour.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our session today, and I'm very honored to be invited to give you a little bit of a tour of our simulation center. As a matter of fact, I thought I was here to talk to you about virtual simulation. So I have two things going on now, but in the chat box, I'm going to post a YouTube link to give you an insight to what the simulation learning center looks like. Lindy, I was going to ask if this is something that we can show, or happy to just leave the link in the chat box.
You can show it. Yeah, I think it'll be very beneficial.
I can certainly do that. So give me. I'm on mute, so you should be seeing my desktop, but I should, just 2 seconds here. Oh, and now you're seeing my email. Fantastic. Here we go. So welcome to the Simulation Learning Center.
Today's complex healthcare environments demand that registered nurses quickly assess patient situations and make astute, sometimes split-second clinical care decisions. Welcome to the Clinical Simulation Learning Center in the Faculty of Nursing at the University of Calgary, where the use of simulation is a vital component of undergraduate nursing education. Simulation enriches the quality and breadth of learning from both a teaching and a learning standpoint. Within this center, our students learn on task trainers to master the psychomotor skills needed in practice. We continue to design bold, future-focused programming to fully utilize technology. Through simulated-based learning, students begin to think as the nurse they are preparing to become. They hone their clinical judgment and problem-solving skills without risking patient safety. For these experiences to be effective, our instructors design clinical encounters according to best practices. Not only do students apply psychomotor skills in scenarios, they also learn critical thinking and work on their communication abilities in order to establish therapeutic relationships with patients. Using high-fidelity simulation like Lucina, a birthing simulator, patient scenarios are created that mimic clinical events students may see in the real world. The Clinical Simulation Learning Center houses 32 basic patient care environments and also includes 3 simulation suites, 3 control stations, and 3 debriefing rooms. All spaces are flexible and adaptable. A trained faculty member operates a simulator from the control room, controlling a mannequin's verbal responses, as well as the timing and progression of the simulation event. These parameters change depending on the level of the student and the learning objectives. Believable makeup, props, people, and interactions are created in order to heighten the perception of reality for the learner. In a supportive environment, students learn to openly give and receive feedback, rethink actions, reactions, and decisions, as well as review their errors, all of which contribute to professional growth and development. The CSLC operates on the basic assumption, as defined by Boston Center for Medical Simulation, that everyone participating in activities at our center is intelligent, capable, cares about doing their best, and wants to improve. Promoting optimal patient care and safety enables our graduates to effect meaningful change as innovators and leaders in healthcare.
Right, so that's our Simulation Learning Center. And if you have any questions or curiosities that you have with regards to the CSLC, as we call the Simulation Center, feel free to put it in our chat box. One thing that I wanted to share very quickly with all of you is that while we have all of these fancy equipment in our center, and I'm certainly very grateful to have these resources to support your learning. One of the things that, as a result of the pandemic, one of the things that we have also started to use is virtual simulation. And virtual simulation, if you think about it, or perhaps, I mean, Harrison, I see you there. So, you know, I'm curious to hear when you think about virtual simulation, kind of like what comes to mind?
Well, I'm one of the people who is in second year, and honestly, it's really interesting because I think the limits are definitely known, but at the same time, they're not really something that you pay much attention to because it's really good learning experience. For example, you might see some options that you click and you think, oh, this is how I'd handle it. And you see that they take it literally, right? And it just causes you to reflect on, I never really thought about that's how it is. And at the end of the day, I think either way, it's a valuable learning experience because it really causes you to look at, your nursing practice and take what you want from it.
Right. I mean, you make a really good point. And so the next thing that I'm going to show you is actually bringing virtual simulation into your classroom. So not only do we have this fancy center where we can go and practice our skills, but through the use of virtual simulation, we can also look at a different type of skills that nurses need to have in order to care for individuals, families, communities, and populations. And the University of Calgary Faculty of Nursing, one of the best things that I like about this program is our focus on population health, and that in order to care for individuals appropriately, we need to understand our population as a whole. So one of these tools that I have used in my, not just in the, just pulling it up right here. One of the things that I have used in theory classes in the past, and something that you might encounter, and I'm going to put it in the chat box, is a resource from Ryerson University, and they have created these virtual gaming simulations, so feel free to check it out. I'm going to share my screen again with you so you can see what that actually looks like. The intent of this virtual gaming simulation is to help you understand food security. And you wonder, what is the link between health, nursing, and food security? Well, there's quite a bit of things to unpack here. The program takes pride in helping learners and future nurses understand the social determinants of health, and there is nothing like this virtual food security game that'll help you understand that health is very much tied to our access to food and proper nutrition. So in this program, you can choose a character, and these different characters represent the diversity of people that live within our country and maybe even our city. And so through this virtual gaming simulation, you can do this in the comfort of your own home and understand the complexities around health and well-being, and the things that we need to factor in as healthcare providers. And some of those factors include finances, that may include our physical environment, like where do we actually live, transportation as another issue. Another factor that we need to look into or need to consider in our assessment skills as nurses is this notion of diversity. So how does our diverse or our social identities play into our health and well-being? So by using these virtual simulations in the classroom, we can help learners bridge the theory that they're learning in their classes, and when they go out in their clinical placements, to understand what it's like, what are some of the important things to consider when they're working with people in their real clinical settings. So that's what I wanted to share with you. And Lindy, I don't know if you want to, I don't know how much time we have in terms of going this program, or like I said, I put the link in the chat box.
I think that's, if that's yeah, I think that's fine. That's great. Thank you so much, Carla, for presenting on that. I think that should be great. Just give me 1 second as well. I think we have a bit of an interruption here going on right now. So just give me 1 moment while we have some, like this something is happening with my computer right now, and I don't know what's happening. So just give me 1 moment to kind of make some corrections here. Oh, looks like we have a visitor. Can everyone see my screen all right? Okay. Alrighty, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen there. It was a bit of an awkward transition, but I hope everyone got an opportunity to go through it and see that it's a great opportunity to participate in the Rex Challenge and win some awards. I also want to say thank you to Carla once more for presenting on the Clinical Simulation Learning Center and providing insights as to what it's like to be a nurse and do all these assessments. And so now we're going to transition to the second portion of the session, where you get a chance to talk to actual nursing students, and we also have the associate dean here as well to also help out and answer some questions as well. So we're going to transition into that. And then what we're going to start off with is, some introductions. So we're going to have some introductions from the panelists here with us. And then you can start putting in your questions in the chat. And then we'll just start reading them out. We have Carrie McKay, who's going to be the moderator for this portion of the session. Who wants to go first with the introductions?
I can start. So welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Zara Shajani and I'm the Associate Dean for Practice Education. So work really closely with a lot of our members that are here and the students, and really happy to welcome you to our virtual session today. I think that you will hear from Lucy, Nadia, and Jasnoor and Harrison a lot of the experiences that they've had in each of the terms, but I can just give you an overview of the quick curriculum in terms of what it looks like and then where do I fit in. So we have a 4-year BN program, and each of the year has a specific focus. So your first year is your foundational years, and then you move into community health. So you can always think about it as a triangle. We start with an upside triangle. We start with community, population health. You get to learn about the people that you're going to be working with from a broader perspective, doing a lot of things that are health promotion. Then you move into more of family nursing, looking at specific population related to older adult, mental health, perinatal, and just specifically focusing from a higher level, these specific populations. Then you get into the hospitals where now you're really focusing on individual health episodes where, clients are transitioning from their home into the hospital and are in acute episode, and you get to take care of them in that acute phase. So the year 3 is really all about acute care in the hospitals, looking at it also from a chronic disease perspective as well. Then you move into your final year, which is your more focused year as well. As I mentioned, you get the initial aspect of it in year 2, but then you get to develop a little bit more specific focused health in term 7, which is our 4th year, and you get to kind of choose to see where you want to go. Again, there is mental health, perinatal, older adult on oncology, and then your final term is your preceptorship. In all of that, you get lots of fun clinical placements, and that's where I fit in. You get to go into your clinical placements where it starts with the community health, and then, as I said, all the way up to we've got great partners. So really looking forward to having a great discussion and answering any questions, but I just thought I'd give you a quick overview of our program. And my background is family nursing, maternal child, and postpartum.
I guess I'll introduce myself. My name is Harrison Blondie. I am a 2nd year, I guess 3rd year now, because we just finished our last final the other day. So we're now moved on to next step, nursing student. And to speak to what Zara said, I think one thing I would recommend that you guys keep in mind is that nursing is cumulative, right? So when you start learning about community health, right, then you might think, oh, well, now I'm going into family health. That has nothing to do with it. But it does. And then as you get into acute care, you realize it does, and everything's related. So I think it's very important to keep in mind, as you go through this journey, that everything you're learning is just another tool in your toolbox as a nurse. And you're going to love placements. They are so much fun. Honestly, you get to go with your groups, you get to work with actual people and populations. And especially, I think in term 3, you get to work in community settings and really see kind of the differences you can make. So it's really awesome opportunities to kind of apply those skills you're learning. And I wholeheartedly recommend that as you go through this journey, you keep in mind, all these tools, because it's very rewarding when you get to see something like, well, I'm in acute care, but I see this as a community health issue, because I've identified maybe that this swollen leg is because of, food insecurity, right? And then getting to collaborate with other people to fix those sorts of things. It's very fun.
All right, I can go next. So my name is Nadia, as you can probably see on the screen, and I'm also just going into third year, just like Harrison. And I think Zara and Harrison collaborated pretty well on kind of the overview of these 2 years. And I can just provide my insight. So for term three, my placement was Bethany Harvest Hills, and it was the community placement. So we kind of worked with older adults that had the early onset of dementia, and we were working on art projects with them so we can kind of collaborate to create something beautiful with them and use their imagination for that. And we kind of had to consider communication with this population because, as you know, with dementia their memory tends to not be the best, so we have to learn how to kind of deal with that and kind of communicate in ways that work with that instead of against that, and instead of trying to encourage them to remember things that they're not going to remember. And then this semester, the one that just passed, term four, I was placed at Bethany Riverview, so down in the south. And it was a long-term care facility for, again, patients with dementia, but this time it was much more advanced dementia. So we were providing full care for them. And then in the morning, we would get them up, get them ready, provide breakfast for them. And so that was really eye-opening because it really shows you the long-term kind of care that nurses do provide. And as Zara and Harrison mentioned, like it kind of boils down to the relationship you build with the community that's important. And then, yeah, so those were good foundations to build, I think, the rest of our program on. And I'll hand it off.
All right, I can go next. So I'm Jess Noor. I'm just like Nadia and Harrison. I'm also going into third year. We just finished our last project yesterday. So in terms of what I would say, I completely agree with Harrison and Nadia that, with nursing, the best thing I would say is that everything you do in one term moves on to the next, and like it never feels like, okay, I learned this, but like where am I gonna apply this? So it's again like it's cumulative. So in my term three placement, I was at a supporting living facility, and what we did was we were paired with one resident each, and we actually helped modify their care plans. So we developed a whole document to fill out about all of their care preferences and all of their needs and everything, and likes and wants that a lot of the staff weren't able to recognize because a lot of the language differences with the residents. So we essentially helped them develop more, I guess, up to date and personalized care plans in that semester, which was really good. And then in term four, I was in a long-term care facility, so Bethany, Calgary, in Northwest. And like Nadia said, like we provided morning care and we gave them breakfast and we did like lunch as well. But then at the same time, our instructor kind of pushed us to complete all like head to toe assessments and vital signs and complete documentation. So it was like all the different assessments that you learn in your 389 labs. We applied all of those assessment and all the that learning into conducting those real assessments on each of the residents and then documenting that how nurses would actually document, which was really cool. And basically we were, one step ahead in getting ready for term five. So yeah, nursing is, I mean, you can always make the best out of it. You can always push yourself, and you're never going to feel like, okay, why am I doing this? You're always going to feel like there's a reason why I'm doing this, and you're able to apply it, whatever you learn right away into your practical placements. So yeah.
Okay, lots of term threes and fours. I just finished my third year actually, so that was terms 5 and 6. So our last clinical was yesterday. Definitely a huge shift from second year. I would say, so I was placed at a cardio unit at Rocky View in term 5, and this term I just finished at a renal unit at Foothills. And so I think definitely a huge shift just because third year is based on a lot of theory and knowledge, like just kind of like it's a lot of studying, I would say. And that was like a huge difference that I found between the previous terms and this term. I think previous terms was, I guess, assessed more on papers and kind of like in understanding of like community. Whereas for these two terms, it was more like tests and questions based on pathophysiology and pharmacology. So a lot more acute and, like Zara said, based on individual health. And so I think, like the other panelists have said, it's really important to keep everything in mind. Like you're not throwing away community and family once you move on into the hospital, because even now, like, of course, I'm dealing with like administering medications and like IV medications and injections, but I'm also considering all of the other aspects that patients are coming in with. So there are a lot of different populations that you can see in the hospital. There are people coming in that might have special requests. For example, if there are an Indigenous patient, they might need an Indigenous liaison or someone who may not have a home to return to after they're discharged, and there needs to be a social work consult put in. So there's a lot of working together, interdisciplinary teams, and just keeping in mind everything you've learned throughout the years as you move on is really wonderful.
All right, I think that's all the speakers, unless there's somebody else, but I think that's everyone. So thank you all very much for providing your insight. So we do have some questions coming up here, so that's fantastic. I see that Harrison has answered a couple of them. We're just going to go through them to see if anyone has anything else they want to add. Okay, so the first question is from Kayla. It's a great question. In which year do we start working in the simulation lab? Do the first year students have any communication with any of the second, third, or fourth years? So we've got Carla answered a part of it. She's for simulation. Your very first official sim will be in term 4. You get to work with Lucina, our birthing simulator. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Poor Lucina, if I'm saying it wrong, Carla, is that right? Or is it
Lucina, but the way that you said it is so fancy.
I'm giving her a little flair, Lucina.
Yeah, totally.
A little Italian flair. Okay, so Lucina, you get to work with in term 4. And then Harrison also answered. So he said, first year students tend to interact with members from all years through various professional development, workshop, committees, etc., and are always happy when members of their other terms say hello. So I would say in general, first year students have the opportunities to interact, but you need to make sure you're taking the opportunity. So it's not gonna happen unless you're, start interacting. So we do have something called YONK as well, which is specifically for year 1 nursing students. And we encourage you to join that. That's a club. There's another question about a club. That's a club. And then that will help you start to get to know some of the other year 1s, because you're going to spend the next 4 years with them. And you also have opportunities to interact with some of the higher senior year students as well. Okay. Does anyone else want to add to that? Any of our panel want to add to that?
I think a lot of first year students also join like the UNS subcommittees with the subcommittees, which actually helps them to get to know how kind of UNS works, but also pair up with like upper year students and stuff.
And so I know we're using a lot of abbreviations here, but so YONC stands for Year 1 Nursing Council and UNS stands for Undergraduate Nursing Council. So, or Nursing Society, sorry. And they're both organizations or student clubs under the Faculty of Nursing.
And you'll get an opportunity if you go to orientation. We always have YONC present at orientation, so you'll get to learn more about them. You will receive information about them for sure. And UNS does a great job of communicating out information to our students as well. So those opportunities will come that way also. Okay, I'm going to move to the next question. In terms of enrolling into our classes now, how does transfer credit work? So Lindy, why don't you answer that?
Sorry, I have to like reread the question, transfer credit.
Well, more about maybe speak to registration first and then identify transfer credit, because transfer credit won't apply to most people on the call today. So
so we do have a registration webinar occurring on April 26th, and it's going to be for first year students. So what we'll be going over are the course requirements. So the courses that you need in your first year. And so you will need 10 courses. You will require 10 courses to progress to year 2. And then the registration webinar will go over how to go about registering for courses. There's also the new student registration assistant. So you have a lot of support. So the new student registration assistant stands for NSRA. They are students like yourselves who are students at the University of Calgary who've gone through the registration process and will be able to assist you step by step with the registration process. In terms of transfer credit, that's more of an admission question. So if you've taken a course, Carrie, I see like you're looking sort of confused there.
Oh, no, I was just going to say there could be some students that have potentially could have transfer credit, but you're right.
Yes, potentially in terms of IB or AP. So if you have any transfer credit that's coming in, admissions will be the one to evaluate it and post it onto your account. And if those courses are transferable, it'll be posted to your account and it'll be counted towards your first year courses. But I don't want to take over, make it a dialogue about registration. All of this will be discussed in the registration webinar. Again, it will be occurring on Tuesday, April 26th. As a matter of fact, I will put in the chat where you can find that information and the Zoom link for it, because it'll be done virtually.
Lindy, do they get information sent to them about that registration workshop? Will it be mailed to them?
Yes, they should have received information from the registrar's office regarding all the webinars that are taking place.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so let's see some other questions here. Hang on a second, I went too far. Okay, so are there any UCalgary clubs specifically recommended for nursing students? So Harrison, you answered that you had UNS and we talked about Yonk. Is there anything else anyone else wants to add to that?
I put in the nurse mentorship as well. I think that's really important to think early, because I think that's one of the things that's is a great way to kind of get yourself engrossed in the nursing world.
Right, that's great.
I also wanted to add they have peer helper positions that you might not be able to do it in your first year, but at least to consider for second year. They usually open around the spring, summer, and our Student Health and Wellness Center has several positions that you can apply to be a volunteer for, and it's great experience. In fact, I'm going to try to apply for some this summer, because we have like the student medical response team, which give you more hands-on emergency care, skills, as well as, just other things like student mental health promotion, student listeners, several skills that are crucial to our nursing practice, like soft skills, but, still very useful. So if you're interested in that, I very much recommend you check it out, because there are so many options, and nursing is such a broad profession that any of these skills you develop would be invaluable to you when you get to your placement.
That's great. Thank you, Harrison. Anyone else have anything they want to add to that? Are you good? The only other thing I want to mention is we have something called co-curricular record. And it's kind of like it's like a separate transcript almost that identifies things that you've done external to your academic. So it might be that you were on the UNS. It could be some of the things Harrison was talking about, but it's almost like an additional transcript that you can supply potential employers and that kind of thing, just to show the breadth of your experience and what you were involved in when you went to university and that kind of thing as well. So it's a good opportunity. So you'll learn more about that as you go through too. We don't want to get you hung up on that, but it's a good opportunity as well. Okay, next question. Let's see. What year do placements start? So your placements are going to start in year 2. In your third term, which Harrison already answered. So there you go. Okay. In terms of education that is consistently applicable, what are the best junior open option classes for nurses? So Harrison put sociology is useful 287, and I would put in the time to learn APA format in academic writing 303, because we write a lot of papers and assignments in APA. That's right. And so academic writing 303 is a required course that you'll do in your first year. And it is, like Harrison said, really important to put the effort in and to actually learn that, because you will be applying it throughout the entire term. Lindy, do you want to talk about some other common first year courses that students take that they enjoy? Sure.
I mean, one that we commonly throw out or hear is Greek and Roman Studies 211. That course specifically goes over medical terminology. Students tend to enjoy it. But in general, when it comes to, when it comes to your first year courses, like Harrison mentioned, there are mandatory courses like academic writing 303. So you will have to choose, or not choose, but you will need to take 5 mandatory courses, as well as 5 open option or elective courses. One of which you can take Greek and Roman Studies to 11. I don't know if anybody else who's taken it, is anybody from in the panel taking Greek and Roman Studies to 11 want to comment on what it's like?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I found it really helpful, honestly, because I was also doing Kines 260 at the same time, and it helped me understand medical terms better. It's just, it kind of teaches you the foundation of, how medical terms are built up, so that, later in the day, anytime in your nursing practice, you don't have to like specifically memorize the definition of every single hugely like long medical term that you're gonna hear. It's just, it just kind of gives you, it's like a tool, that helps you just kind of be like, okay, so this is what this suffix means, this is what this prefix means, this is what the base means. So I'm sure the medical term in itself means this. So yeah, I find it really helpful.
Jazz, you also mentioned that Psych 203 is helpful. Do you want to talk a little bit about that also?
Yeah, so some sections of Psych 203, especially the child development theories and stuff like that, they were actually repeated in terms 3 and 4. And I think there were a couple other sections or concepts that we learned about that I found them helpful and kind of transferable to term 3 and term 4 practice. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And Harrison also identified, I don't know if we offer for in-person classes, but Phil 313 was very rewarding. As far as I know, they have the in-person version as well, don't they, Lindy? Yeah, because before COVID, that's how people usually took it. So I think now they do offer both options, in person and online as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I remember I was talking to one first last year, and I think it might have been that we had to fill it up at our university location, because there's another location too. But I found it was very useful because I'm not gonna lie, it's a difficult course. However, it does provide you with a framework for the very difficult content you'll have to cover, which is we learn a lot about ethics, legality, and making those tough decisions. What is the nurse's role? And that course forces you to recognize from a broader healthcare perspective, how would I handle a situation where, for example, if somebody wanted to go through or Bill 13, or with euthanasia in Canada, right? Very difficult concept, if you want to talk about if it's ethically good or wrong. However, it allows you to identify your own biases, reflect on that, and when you get to placement later, or term 3, term 4, and you discuss these sorts of complicated situations, it really gives you that background where you can be like, oh well, I've thought about this already, and this is my thoughts on it, and really engage you for especially those paper writing aspects, even because you get to identify more of those complex issues and your views on it. So
right, very good, thank you. So there's a little bit of conversation around linguistics, because we have Nadia, Nadia, have you taken a linguistic course? Is that what you're referring to in terms of your experience?
I have not, but I have a couple of friends that have told me about linguistics course because she's doing like a major in it, and she tells me that it's like a broader kind of perspective on the English language. And I know that GRST, because I took it, was kind of more specific to medical terminology, and it's very applicable to kind of the content that we learned. So I would recommend GRST.
Yeah, I think Jazz commented a little bit, because it's more, the Greek and Roman studies is more talking about the foundational words. So understanding the root word. And once, I think Jazzy spoke to that, once you know the root word, it's easier to understand what other words mean, the concept, right? So I hope that answers your question. Did I miss any here when I kind of skipped around a bit looking at that? One thing I wanted to go back to here is APA, because Carla provided a link in the chat, so you might want to have a look. And we specifically use APA 7th edition. So that's important because they do change from edition to edition. So you want to make sure you're looking at the right one. Okay. Let's see here. I'm jumping around a bit. Okay. Carla has a little something here too now. Speaking of virtual simulation, here's a virtual resource to brush up on anatomy and physiology knowledge and or supplement your medical terminology learning knowledge. So she provided a link in the chat, so you might want to grab that. You will get a copy of the recording, but it's easier to grab the link now. Trust me on that. Okay, next question. How many of the required courses would you recommend on taking in terms of workload? We need to take 5 for sure, but I was interested in picking 8 of the required courses. Would this be too stressful?
Well, Harrison, you look like you wanted to answer that question.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. Make your life easier. I've seen I know several people who were in first year this year, and they were talking to me, and they're like, oh, I took like all 5 of my courses, you know, each term, and they are burnt out because it doesn't give you that opportunity. And so we all can handle what we can handle, right? If you really love, you know, math and stuff, and you put that all together, then I'm not doubting that you might be able to do that if your interest is there. But I'd say you have to really think about it, because at the end of the day, you know, you need to work harder, not smarter. This is just to build a foundation, help you understand yourself, help you kind of realize the different facets before you enter into actual nursing practice. That's my interpretation of first year. And when you look at it in this case, I would say be very careful with this. And I would also recommend maybe separating statistics and academic writing, because I've seen people put both of those in the same term and they regret it, because as I said, academic writing, that takes a lot of time. You should put the effort in, because I've seen people who do not put the effort in for that first year. They come the second year and all of a sudden all our papers are marked in APA format, and they take away quite a bit of our percentage if you don't do it properly. And so they regret that. And same with statistics. We don't use it as much, but it takes a lot of time and practice to do if you're not good at math. So I'd recommend, you know, those are the 2 big problem children I've kind of seen when you look at the courses. And then just look at what you can handle in terms of, like, you never even know how hard a course could be. For example, I took geography and anthropology thinking, you know, my parents are like, Harrison, this would be very easy. And I'd say geography, anthropology, astrology, they're very popular science electives, because it's really hard to balance the ones that are for actual science studies, like, you know, chemistry, biology, into your schedule as a nurse, because they conflict. However, it's a lot harder than you might think. Because, like, I took geography and all of a sudden they're like, Harrison, tell me the air atmosphere and do a glacier study. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a nursing student. Or anthropology, they're like, Harrison, tell me when humans and apes switched, but it's different. Tell me the different, you know, species. So I'd say do some research into what you're going to actually be getting into with your courses, and, you know, look at what are you interested in, reflect on, you know, do some self-introspection, you know, what would I be motivated to do and what can I handle? Because university is definitely a different monster than high school, and it's different, not worse, but, you know, it's important to keep these things in mind.
Very good words of wisdom there, Harrison, because I can say as having worn the role of a student advisor, and as now I'm a program specialist and admissions officer for the Faculty of Nursing, you know, I speak to a lot of students who experience overwhelmness with taking 5 courses per semester, and it's doable for students who want to do that, but it's also coming with that introspection of understanding what is your strengths and what is your weaknesses. We do, however, I would say, recommend students to get the required courses out of the way in your fall and winter semester to ensure that you're not, you know, to ensure that you're not going to be able to ensure that you're not missing out on that. Because if you try to register for the spring and summer, you know, those courses are not restricted as they are in the fall and winter term. So, you know, get those required courses out of the way. Like Harrison said, you know, understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are. So for example, you know, it was mentioned that Philosophy 313 is a great course to take, but it's a challenging course. So know what the course is about before you register into it. Ask questions, do your research. And yeah, you can spread out your courses. You can take 4 courses in the fall, 4 courses in the spring. That's what we generally tend to see. Or sorry, 4 courses in the fall and 4 courses in the winter. What we tend to see. And then you can take your 2 option courses in the spring or summer. So you can spread it out that way. Of course, we will help you along the way. So if you have questions, please do not hesitate reaching out.
I think
Can
Jen.
I add something?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I personally have another piece of advice: to not take all of your sciencey, like biochemistry, physics courses in one semester. Like, don't do that. That's gonna like kill you. So in the first semester, I actually did take like 5 courses each semester, and it did well, but I must say I was pretty burnt out, and I was online. I wasn't even like commuting to uni or anything, so you have to like take those pieces into account. So I had a lot of time on myself, but I was still burnt out. And I had bio and chemistry in the first semester. Oh my, like that was a lot. And in the second semester, I had another chemistry, academic writing, and statistics. So again, like not the best combo, but again, you have to know what works for you. And a lot of times, the best thing I've seen that's helped me is that always ask upper year students about their experiences with like specific courses that you're thinking about taking, because that's going to give you a lot of insight into, okay, should I be doing this or not? So don't just like jump in there. I feel like asking people how their experience has been has really helped me to make the right choices and not just like throw myself in a hole and like pretend that I'm gonna like come out of it somehow.
And sorry, can I just add one more thing? So I
Yeah.
just wanted to say that I think first year is meant for you guys to kind of explore your interests and those kind of things. So if you have like any passions or any interests outside of like the sciencey world or outside of the biological world, then feel free to explore that, because at the end of the day, as long as you have your recommended courses, you're good to go to second year, and then all the other courses are your choice. So if you want to spend that doing biology or chemistry, feel free if you are interested in that. But if you're not, don't feel pressured to, because at the end of the day, you're not going to revisit that content, because nursing content kind of builds on itself. It doesn't need that kind of external prerequisites, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, feel free to choose your own options and don't be pressured by like, I should be taking sciences, I should be taking chemistry. Yeah, just want to say that.
I think that's great advice, Nadia, because you're right. It is an opportunity to look at different things that interest you that you otherwise might not get that opportunity once you're in your nursing courses. There's no move, like you're in your only nursing. So it is a good opportunity. So there are a couple of questions that popped up. So Kayla asked which kinesiology would be better. You have to take both. So there's no and or, you got to take them both. And that they'll go over all of that information when you do the registration webinars as well. They'll tell you exactly what you need to, what you have to register in, and then what your options are. Okay. And then Harrison put a little note here. Speaking of burnout, I recommend registering for a variety of clubs like UC Book Club. That's nice. It's great to engage in UNS and nursing courses, but it's important to get involved with the diverse communities of the university. Totally. That's great advice, Harrison. You want to have a really, overall experience. You want to, it's kind of like the same thing we talk about, the breadth, your experience. You want to have a variety of experiences. And again, that stuff feeds into co-curricular record as well. It doesn't have to be nursing related for that. So that's great advice. I know we're getting a little short. Are we still okay, Lindy? You've got 13 minutes. So can I keep going through these, or is there something else you need to wrap up with?
I think we can go for another 5 minutes and then we can wrap up.
So our students here have generously put their emails up here. I'm a little concerned because this is going to be recorded and sent out. So it's not just these guys. So just so you guys are prepared, if you're rethinking that, we can have a look, because you could get a lot of students emailing you. It's really nice of you, because I know that it's tough picking those courses, as it really is. Okay, so then Lucy said, hi, Ivy, there are many panels like this throughout the year. Example, UNS hosted one yesterday for second years to ask third years about acute care. Oh, that's a great tip. Thanks, Lucy. Jasner, going to orientation also really helps you to connect with your cohort in upper years. Great advice. So make sure you look for that. That's usually in the week before classes start, the Thursday or Friday. Do we have a date yet, Lindy, for that? It's usually the Thursday or the Friday before, right?
For orientation?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say yes. We don't have a date for that yet.
For sure.
Yeah, but planning is going to be starting soon for that.
Yeah.
For fall.
They got to have all these other events first, and then they focus on that. And when we say they, we talk about the admission central at the university. They tell us when our orientation is. So and Harrison says, I also recommend not fearing us upper terms, because we are always happy to support our cohort members. And I think you guys are doing an awesome job of that. This is really, you gave them your emails. That's fantastic. So you've got lots of support and lots of help. So definitely reach out. Ivy says, thank you very much. This makes me feel more comfortable with reaching out. Very nice. I agree, Ivy. And Nadia is supporting that too. Our faculty is already so small as it is. It's nice to feel a sense of community. Yes, it's really nice. And that's what's nice about smaller faculties as well. And take part in the workshops like assist or other professional development. Great way to meet nursing students and develop professional skills outside the curriculum. So you'll find that throughout your time in the faculty, you'll get various emails with professional development opportunities. Those can come from the faculty as a whole, or they'll come from UNS or the university as a whole. But there are lots and lots of opportunities out there for sure. Oh, and then we've got a good little tip from Carla. Follow UNS on Instagram. They're pretty good at posting events as well as a good way to connect with others. So that's good too. She honestly, our UNS is so awesome. They always help us out with events. They're so happy to help other students. And they're just fantastic. So definitely get involved if you can. And then we have Emily asking, I may have missed this earlier, but how many nursing students are accepted into first year? So we have into first year, we accept just under 100. It's usually about 112 to 115 for our direct entry for this fall. And then we have another one in January that's transfer students and degree holders, and that's about 100. So, and Carla says agreed, which I think she's talking about UNS, I think. And then we've got Emily. Thanks. Wow, so exciting, everyone that got in. Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, you guys pat yourselves on the shoulder, because I tell you, it's extremely competitive. We always we do work in faculty nursing. It's like, holy, like we'd never stand a chance of getting in now. Like it's insane how competitive it is. And so really, truly, you've done a great job. And I think that our students have given you such good advice in terms of, what courses to take and, don't overload, because, truly that year one is, an opportunity to do some exploring, but also you're in for some busy years. So take it one step at a time and don't overwhelm yourself. Kayla said, oh, wait, Harrison has another good little tidbit, and check out the subcommittees like Indigenous initiatives. It's such a good way to connect and get CCR. So true. Very, very true. We've got some great information about that on our website as well. And then Kayla, thank you so much for answering my questions, making me even more excited about being part of the nursing program. Fantastic. Harrison, we're also excited to welcome you. And is nursing really difficult? I've heard it's really stressful. I'm not going to answer that because I haven't gone through it, but I'll let our students go for that. Who wants to speak first? Harrison's in it.
Okay, so I will tell you this. If you keep up with the work, it's going to be hard. You're not going to have a lot of free time. You have some, but if you keep up with the work, you keep up the studies, you look at it as cumulative rather than sectional, then you will get through this. It won't be as stressful. However, if you don't keep up the work, you need to understand everything builds upon everything. So, example, if you do a head-to-toe assessment in term 4, like we've learned, then in term 5, it's expected you know how to do that, right? And so you can't really afford to spend the time learning to do that again. And so I'd recommend, it's a whole different ballpark the moment you go to second year, because first year is kind of figuring out who you are, building some foundations, building, a better understanding. Then you get into actual nursing, and the expectation is that we're becoming nurses, right? And so it's not necessarily going to be easy. It's going to be a challenge, but the stress, as Jasnor points out, if you use time management and prioritize things, and, even look at the course outlines ahead of time. Don't wait until the first day of classes, because for all you know, a lot of professors are already expecting that. They are literally be like, oh yeah, and you have a big paper due end of the second week of classes. And you will be like, oh, okay, I should have looked into this so I could start thinking. But if you do that, it shouldn't be super stressful. And luckily, we have such a supportive cohort. And when you get to your term 3 groups, you'll get so close to people and form study groups, and it becomes so much more manageable and less stressful when you can, be like, oh, I'm dreading this exam. Me too. But you're studying together, and deep down, you're not going to say, I'm going to fail it, because you're going to do fine. Because we're all here because we're intelligent, and it's what we can handle. And like they said, the averages are insane right now. So the fact that you're here means that you're basically a super genius. So
that's right. So I think what Harrison said was so bang on. There's a few things I just want to emphasize. We really talked a lot today about the community within nursing. And I think, like Harrison said, and the other students, Jasnur and Nadia, both said, working with other students, relying on them, becoming involved in things, all of that will help you for sure. Carla, why don't you talk about what you wrote in here? I think that sounds really nice, and I think it'd be helpful. It'd be nice to share that.
Sure. So my grandma, my Lola, so my family's from the Philippines, and I learned that she was a pediatric nurse. And growing up, she always said no one will ever follow her footsteps because nursing was hard. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So here comes 11th grade. I was attending St. Mary's at the time, and I said, what am I going to be? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take up my grandma. I'm going to prove her wrong. No, she was so right. Nursing was so hard, but I meant every word. I can't think of anything else. If I were asked to pick another profession, I'd pick nursing all over again. It's so diverse. You can if you want to work with kids, you want to work with older adults, if you want to pick an organ and specialize in that organ, like heart, lungs, kidneys, like there's a unit for that. So and if you want to become an educator one day and help build a stronger, more resilient workforce, there's that option too. So Talveen, yes, it is hard, but nothing worth doing is easy, right? So go for it, give it a shot. It's the best thing I did.
Awesome. So we need to start wrapping up, but I just wanted to point out, Jasner had another great tip. Having a planner calendar for the whole term and your daily to-do list is also important. So I think, you guys have got some great tips. Make sure you participate in the upcoming events that we'll have. So the registration workshop, the orientation, all of those things, they're going to help you start off on the right foot. And Jasner, I must say, you will certainly find a niche in nursing, and I think she's bang on. I've heard so many different stories about people's experiences, and it's been great. So we hope that you've enjoyed today. I'll pass it back to Lindy to wrap it up. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Carrie, and thank you everyone for participating in this event. Your questions, your insights, your input, your just the love and appreciation that you have for the program and for the courses that you'll be taking, and just in general really says a lot. As you've heard and before, that this program, this faculty is small, and I've heard from Zara in the past that this faculty, you can start thinking of it as your little family, as your community. So know that you'll have lots of support while you're in the program. One thing I really want to emphasize too is to check your emails on a regular basis. We do send out a lot of communication on, events that are taking place, things that you need to be aware of, registration, the time that you need to register for your courses. Do check your student center to know when exactly you are to register for courses. I know many of you are starting to plan out your schedules and, determine what it will look like, but check your registration, your student center. If you haven't, activated that, you should have done that already. But activate your student center, check the dates are for when to register for the fall and winter terms. As Carrie said, we do have a registration webinar taking place on April 26th for first year students. I believe we may have some second year students in the mix, maybe a few, I'm not quite sure. But know that information will be forthcoming regarding what courses you need to register in. I'm specifically referring to second year students. Actually, no, there's no second year students. Never mind. What am I saying? All first year students. Yeah. So forget what I said about second year students. First year students, all the information will be forthcoming regarding, what it is that you need to do in terms of program requirements. And again, the registration webinar will take place on April 26th. I did put a link in the chat earlier. So where to, find the virtual link. But yeah, I think that should be wrapped. We wrapped up everything. And again, you guys have had amazing questions, and I want to say thank you again to everyone for participating. Yeah, so I think we can sign off for now. And yeah, one thing, if you have any questions too, moving forward, you can email nursing@ucalgary.ca. That's our advising email. But yeah, thank you everyone, and have a lovely day, and looking forward to meeting you all.
Bye everyone, thanks.
Bye.